Thank you, everyone, for coming to the 2016 Past Presidents Luncheon and Hall of Fame induction. It's certainly one of our favorite events of the year as we honor some fantastic people who've led with their commitment to the community and athletics, but also give thanks to the men who worked so hard in this club in their year as presidents. The three purposes that one of my mentors, Jerry Brigani, had when he came back was to fulfill the dreams of Colonel Byrne with a Hall of Fame display and a Hall of Fame, get the past presidents back involved in some way. Remember, this was no internet back then. Get them involved. And then three, bring the structure and make the relevance of the Colonel Al Byrne Award. And I think Jerry did all three. The Hall of Fame, I can remember, you guys probably remember him saying in meetings, he goes, Hall of Fame, gentlemen, we're enshrining people for life, forever. As longer past we're gone, that's going to be here, and how right he was. And for the past Hall of Fame inductees who are here, thank you for coming back. It really means a lot to all of us. It's great to see you guys and ladies. To the past presidents, I continue to be humbled to be with you each year. Those presidents that came way before me and laid the foundation, built this thing from nothing, to the ones that came after us, who now have so many moving parts and have it so much harder and do it so much better than we did. I want to just say thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for letting me be a part of the organization for the last 14 years, a part of this. It's truly been an honor. I want to introduce some people and then we'll get going. I want to now formally introduce the 47th president of the All Sports Association, Mr. Bill Kuhn. I've known him for a while. I didn't know the U was long, but it's long, Kuhn. But seriously, Bill and his team have done a fantastic job this year. What I've learned about Bill over the last years, he cares really about two things. He cares about the customer and he cares about the kids. He's got no agenda, at least one that I see. There is no agenda with Bill Kuhn, but Bill, you and your committee and your team have done a fantastic job, and thanks for everything this year. To Bill's left, our team chaplain. If anybody needed a team chaplain, it's this bunch. 78 years young, Reverend Jim Ross. He just does not age. He does it so well. Jim, thanks for coming back again this year and honoring us with your presence. Thank you. When this lunch started in 2003, the first thing the board asked this committee that went in front of them was, how much is it going to cost? How are we going to pay for it? Well, the first couple of years, the Hall of Fame committee itself rented the room at the Hurlburt Soundside. Then we moved out here, but from the very beginning, we've had some corporate help with paying for the lunch. Gene was kind enough during his years to help with Chelco. Matthew Avery's here there with Chelco, and also this year, Jeff Pappas is here with Mojo Sportswear. Just some simple math over 14 years at an average of $15 a plate, and this is a little more than $15 a plate. The sponsors have saved us close to $21,000 of money that we don't have to pay for that goes right back into the kids. So gentlemen, thank you so much, and especially Jeff for jumping in this year. Thank you, appreciate it. I wanted to introduce our two next presidents, of which one is not here. Our next president is not here. I think he got scared and he's out in Niceville, but we have our president-elect will be next year, Bernard Johnson, the man who's on more board of directors than anybody could ever imagine here. As Sade would say in the 70s or 80s, he's a smooth operator. But Bernard Johnson, thanks for being here. Those that, from the media, Seth is here from the Daily News. I believe Nick is here. I don't know if Randy's here from Crestview, but RJ Murdoch, videographer extraordinaire from Emerald Coast TV, Lynette J. It's hard to believe it just less than 10 years ago, we had no record that this banquet existed other than some Polaroid pictures or some Kodak pictures, but this is really good, and thank you all for being here. This is very, very important to us. Thanks for being here. Alongside Bill this year are his officers and directors. I believe most of them are on that back table. They're the voters who vote on this Hall of Fame class. Gentlemen, you are chosen for what you're doing because of your leadership skills, your work ethic, and your commitment to our youth here in the area. I asked a few past presidents before this what kind of advice they would give to you guys as you move up the ladder and continue with all sports, and the sentiment was pretty the same. It said, embrace tradition but don't be afraid to step outside the box. I mean, you think about that. Embrace the traditions of the past, but don't be afraid to change something and make it new. If no one changed, we'd be giving out 4 awards at the NCO club and no money. You know, somebody along the line thought of a souvenir program to sell ads. Somebody thought of corporate sponsors. Somebody thought of fish fry. Somebody thought of a lot of things. But Don Sutton said it best when he came back on the first Hall of Fame induction. He said, "You folks have something special here. Don't change who you are." And I think since that time, I don't think we've changed, but we've gotten better. But officers on the board, you're the future of the organization. Thank you for being here, and congratulations on a fantastic year. Please stand, if you will, officers and directors of the All Sports Association. This year we had a first, and it's not one that we really enjoy. On February 15th, just 2 days past last year's banquet, we lost Jerry Begani, our Hall of Fame member and our chairman emeritus. And on August the 11th, we lost Buck Smith. October the 7th, we lost Miss Betty Campbell, the first woman to ever be enshrined. And then finally, just a couple weeks ago, we lost Houston Harrison. You know, losing one is tough. Losing all 4 is very, very difficult. We all, I think, take comfort in knowing that they're up there in heaven. Jerry's getting everything organized, making sure everything's going on task. Buck's making sure everything was done right. Miss Betty's whipping up something to eat, and probably that banana pudding, very much like what you had here. And Houston is making sure everybody's laughing, because that's what Houston did so well. Here today, representing them, are Carolyn Brigani, Buck's daughter Tina, Jimmy Campbell, and Betty Harrison. To each of you, on behalf of all of us, please know that we grieve with you. We love you, and we thank you so much for letting them be a part of our lives over this time. We will miss them so, but as Buck and Jerry would want, we're going to keep pressing on. And as Miss Betty did so well, we'll keep our efforts focused on serving others. And as Houston did so well, no matter how bad a moment is or how bad a person is, we'll find the good in them. So thank you, Carolyn, Tina, Jimmy, and Betty. Thank you. In today's world, the past presidents donate about 7+ years of their life to the organization, and many continue on after that. It's because of them our banquet and organization has grown, gotten better, had new ideas, and become the pinnacle of sports organizations, not just here, but all over the country. People are looking at us now. It's pretty darn cool. I'd like to recognize the presidents that are here with a little anecdote about what they did, and we'll do it by generation, working backward to 2010s. Ask them to stand one at a time, and we'll hold the applause till the end of the decade. Coy Browning, 2015, brought us the Hit King last year, Pete Rose. Kevin Locke brought us Kirk Herbstreit and everything we wanted to know about Obamacare. Chad Hamilton, 2013, brought the bow tie to the executive office. Unfortunately, it never caught on. William Thomas, 2012, brought us Nick Saban, and after his presidency, fled to Alabama as quick as he could get out of here. Steve Boswell, his term brought us probably one of the best keynote addresses and best gentlemen we've had out here at the Convention Center, and Jim Kelly. What a story that was, and that friendship continues with Steve and Jim. And Robert McCarron brought us, in 2010, World Golf Hall of Famer Annika Sorenstam. How about a round of applause for the 2010? Many of these, some may not be here, but 2009, Mike Coupe, the only president ever to have 3 Heisman Trophy winners on the stage, and 0 accounts receivable. 0. We got them all. Gene Smith, 2008, the deepest Southern accent we've ever had as a president, and Steve Spurrier. I don't think Dennis Chavez is here, is he? Or John Watts. Gary Long brought us the snake, and the Hall of Fame display completed in his term. Wade Wallace, the first speaker in the Convention Center. Chris Holly brought us the Bobby Bowden family reunion. And Tim Shaw, is Tim here? He is not. He brought us Gene Stallings, and he's still resolved that we should be having us out at the fairgrounds. And Charlie Potts brought us Rocky Blyer. How about the 2000s? Thank you, guys. And if you're any kind of member, you remember who sponsored you in this organization. It's a limited number of chairs in this club, and I'll always thank Charlie Potts and Jody Henderson for being the ones who sponsored me. Hopefully I've made you proud in some kind of way. Jody Henderson, if Jody's not here, but it's fun to make fun of Jody anyway. He was the first president to ever have his keynote speaker booked before he took office. He didn't do it. Bruce Revan booked him for him. Kim Sellers, is Kim here? Kim brought us Synergy. He brought us Synergy and Mike Dicka. Skip Rayner, the only president to hire the Collegiate Award winner as his keynote speaker, and Florida was promptly under NCAA investigation following that. Jimmy Campbell is here. Jimmy's in the back. And this is the 20th anniversary of that riveting keynote address by Alex Hawkins. Bruce Revan brought us Tommy Lasorda and a lot of cologne. Bill Kleinhelter, probably one of the best performances ever, anywhere, at any venue in Roy Firestone. Bill Smith brought us Joe Theismann. Bobby Smith brought us Terry Bradshaw. And Billy Wayne Michael brought us Lou Holtz for an encore appearance. Thank you guys, the presidents of the 90s. Our 89 president was Buck. Tina, thank you for being here. Dick Cannon brought us the guy known as the Bogeyman, paper lion and best-selling author George Plimpton. Bill Roberts, first ever president to hold his banquet at the fairgrounds. Jerry Brigani, his wife Carolyn's here. Red Mitchum for an encore appearance. Michael Woodham, Red Mitchum's first of 3 consecutive appearances. And Eddie Taylor brought Jerry Clower. I guess this is where the sport coat collection began. Vic Deal brought us Dick Butkus. The 80s, presidents of the 80s. Rube Manasco in 79, this is the era of leisure suits and disco, brought us Notre Dame great Ara Parseghian. James Ward's here, my old small fry football coach. We never lost a game, did we, Coach? Brought us Jerry Clower, and James Houston Harrison is represented here by Betty. How about the presidents of the 70s? Thank you. Our Hall of Fame committee, most of which is sitting right here. Thank you for the honor of letting me be with you since 2003. Bill Roberts, Eddie Taylor, Rube, we've been here since the beginning. It's been great. Dick Cannon, you've stepped in wonderfully when Jerry retired. And Michael Woodham, where's Michael? The passion that you've shown since you came in for Buck has just been nothing short of incredible. I think our job has been to identify 3 outstanding individuals to give to the board of directors. Based on the quality of the individuals in this room that are here in the Hall of Fame, I think we did our job well. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of it the last 14 years. I'll never forget it. I love you guys. The Hall of Famers who are in attendance, I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Dick Cannon did a remarkable job on the RSVPs. 2014, Reverend Jim Ross. Jim. 2011, Coach Ray Ross. They came walking in together, 2 Rosses, and I always get those names confused. One of my favorites, longtime coach and administrator who commanded respect, Mr. Bobby Walton is here. Bobby. I did some research on why he was so respected as an administrator. First, obviously, is Mr. Walton's presence. Secondly, the Board of Education. That's why John Watts isn't here today. He knew there was going to be a demonstration. 2008, Rube Manasco. There we go. Here's one. 2007, he's back for another go at it. Tommy Hammonds is here. Tommy's his passions included drag racing when he was playing in the NBA. Now it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which he's winning the amateur award for. I'm convinced he's secretly a Power Ranger or something. He's a superhero fighting crime out there. He's got a mask or something, but you were fighting crime. You called me that time about maybe being sheriff. And 2003, our first class, probably the greatest athlete to ever come out of this area, Jackie Burkett. And now for our class this year. You know, you read a lot these days locally about the girls playing golf for Niceville High School. Boy, they're shooting low numbers, going low, going to state. Long before they were even thought of by their parents, there was a girl named Marci Clemons, who lit it up here, not only in junior golf, in amateur golf, and collegiate golf, on to Auburn for more accolades, where she was an outstanding All-SEC player, All-SEC academic, and All-American. Marci was a two-time amateur award here with the All Sports Association. I'm proud to introduce the person who will be inducting Marci, our own Eddie Taylor.
Marci Clemons Spivey. Marci was a 1993 valedictorian at Choctawhatchee High School, and while at Choctaw, Marci played on the varsity girls golf team until her senior year when she joined the varsity boys team. She was also involved in several clubs where she held various leadership roles, including the Internet Club Secretary. She was a 1993 All Sports Amateur Award winner here. Marci received a full scholarship of golf to play for Auburn. University started in 1993. She went on to win 4 collegiate tournaments, including the 1996 SEC Championship. She was a recipient of several honors and awards during her tenure at Auburn, including SEC Player of the Year in 1996, which is the top national collegiate honor for women's golf, and is based on academics, athletics, and community service, which was the Dinah Shore Award. Marci was a 2-time All-American, which I just said, and she was also the 1997 All Sports Amateur Award winner. She graduated summa cum laude and a master's in accounting from Auburn in 1998. She was inducted in Auburn University Athletic Hall of Fame in 2012. Marci is a Georgia CPA and began her career at Deloitte, where she was responsible for tax planning and compliance for high net worth families and the related entities. She was then worked for an Atlanta-based multi-general national wealth company, and most recently oversaw the tax affairs for the law firm of King and Spalding. She played on the Futures Tour during the summer of 1997 before beginning graduate school at Auburn. Marci is currently a senior vice president and senior tax consultant for the Southeast region of Bessemer Trust, a family mutual office and wealth management firm. She has 2 girls, aged 13, 11 now, with Michael Spivey, Choctaw class of '89. She has recently dusted off for golf clubs, enjoys working on her handicap at Ansley Golf Club with her boyfriend Scott. She lives in Atlanta with her family. And with that, I'd like to present Marci Clemons Spivey to our 2016 All Sports Association Hall of Fame.
Okay, thank you. I really am honored to be among the great athletes of the Gulf Coast. Jackie Burkett, Danny Werfel was the superstar athlete of my time, and I'm just really proud and humbled to have been honored not only twice as the Athlete of the Year, but then now as one of the Hall of Famers. I was inducted into the Auburn Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, and I told a story about my dad, who was my golf coach, and I told a story about my golf coach in college who really helped me advance my not only my golf skills, but my life skills. And this time I wanted to tell a story about my mom. Because my mom was really not anywhere to be found on the golf course. She didn't show up at almost dark after work. She didn't play with us. She didn't go out on the weekends. She didn't get up at 7 or earlier than 7, tee off at 7. And she really wasn't in the limelight, but she was always there. We would get off the golf course on a Tuesday night, and it'd be just after dark, and everybody's starving. And I've got 2 brothers and my dad, and we're all playing golf. And we call, Mom, we're starving. Can we stop and get some food? No. Dinner's going to be on the table when you get home. And that's right after she finished, working at Kenwood until the same time we got off the golf course, basically. She would just go home, put the dinner on the table, and feed us. And then she had to listen to thousands of hours of shot-by-shot rounds of golf over dinner, and emergency putting lessons, and all sorts of golf, and always with a smile on her face, just so happy that my dad and her kids were close in that way. The other thing I want to tell my mom about is school is something that I always kind of did well. And I usually was able to manage it pretty much by myself, but some things I just really just couldn't do. And science fair projects come to mind. Oh, terrible. It's, American history projects. We burned the candle on some of those, and my parents were always right there with me, making sure that I didn't slip up, and I always had support. Well, one of those things that I had a really hard time doing was writing my speech to give at commencement for graduation. I was valedictorian of Choctaw, and I could not write that speech. And days would go by, and my mom would be like, "Did you write the speech yet?" "No." "Did you write the speech yet?" "I hadn't written it yet." So finally she said, "Marci, guess what? I got you a graduation present." I said, "You did?" "Can I open it?" "Nope, not till you write that speech." And that was what got me over the hump. So my parents have always been there for me. They're still always there for me. They always have my back. And that's the way I feel about this town and this community too. It's always behind us. It's always ours. I'm always going to be from Fort Walton. I get to say I'm from Fort Walton, and everybody knows what Fort Walton is. You don't even have to say Florida. So I'm proud to be a part of it, and I'm proud to have been supported by all of you and everybody that you guys know for most of my years. So thank you.
Favorite line from a favorite Christmas movie: "No man is a failure who has friends." Clarence the Angel wrote that in the back of Tom Sawyer, and George Bailey opened it at the end of The Wonderful Life, and we're all crying our eyes out. Our next inductee had many friends. He had many friends in this room, and he had many friends in college golf. He had many friends around the PGA Tour now. It would be enough to be a Hall of Famer to understand what Ron Balicki did for our community as a sports writer and a sports editor. Tom Connor, you've seen a lot of them, probably not too many better than him. What Ron did for the All Sports Association, putting us literally on the media map in the 70s up into the 80s. He was named the Colonel Alburn Award. That probably would be enough. It'd also be enough for a man who got into golf writing, focused on college golf writing, and became the best known college golf writer in America. The guys with names like Mickelson and Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth speak about him. When Ron Balicki came to your college golf event, it was a big deal. Ron Balicki was very, very respected. That would be enough. But if you took those two and combined them with the kindness and the caring and just the greatness of the man he was, and put a bow on it, that's the package Hall of Famer that Debbie Balicki refers to as her tall, handsome. Here to introduce you to Ron Balicki is pretty much a legend himself. He's a senior golf writer for Golf Week magazine. He's come all the way up from Orlando today for this event. Just a super guy. Please welcome Mr. Jeff Babineau.
Thank you, Tom. Congratulations to Marci. It's a name I've typed many a time being at Golf Week magazine. So lots of first place finishes, and congratulations on such a great day. And congratulations to all of you on putting together such a great event. It means a lot in smaller communities when you come together like this, and the special times, and it's really neat to visit it and be a small part. So my name is Jeff Babineau, and for 15 years I was Ron Balicki's editor at Golf Week. Our friendship actually dated to the mid-'80s when I met Ron. I was a young writer, met Ron at the NCAA championship in 1986 down at Greenleaf in Haines City, which I'm not even sure if it's around anymore. And he was just incredibly kind to a young writer who was trying to learn the ropes. So these days I'm a senior writer at Golf Week, and that's the title Ron would have carried had he carried around business cards, but I don't think Ron ever had a business card. His business card was a firm handshake and a kind smile, and to meet Ron, you met a friend instantly. I travel about 20 weeks a year and cover golf tournaments, but I wouldn't say that's what Ron did so much. He traveled the same amount, would go to all the big events, the Masters, the U.S. Opens, the U.S. Amateurs, the NCAAs. He covered 29 straight NCAA championships, and the Ryder Cups, all the big ones. But he wasn't really interested in the tournaments as much. He was interested about writing the people who played in those tournaments. He was a people guy. As Debbie, his wife of 32 years, said so eloquently in Ron's passing, his best stories were always people stories, and that's so true. So he made my job and the job of a lot of others who covered the PGA Tour for our magazine pretty easy, because all these players that were coming through on the PGA Tour had their introduction to Golf Week through the greatest ambassador we ever could have had. They trusted Golf Week because they trusted Ron Balicki. So Phil Mickelson, Davis Love, David Duval, Tiger Woods, Matt Kuchar, Ricky Fowler, these are all the guys Ron covered. And they called him, to a man, Wrong Ron. It was playful because as good as Ron was with his writing, he was absolutely terrible with his predictions. So at big events, these players would actually approach Ron and beg him not to pick them to win that week. And of course, Ron ate it up. He loved every minute of that. But I do know this much. I mean, athletes today and the relationship they have with writers, a lot of them don't care to spend as much time as it once was around the writers. But, you know, I think of Ron, and Ron used to get invited to their weddings. That says something. He had friends everywhere, and these friends, including me, miss him a whole lot. Many of these friends he made through 30 years around golf, but you know, before that, there were friends from his youth in Connecticut. You know, he didn't have the best upbringing, and the Boys and Girls Club was huge in Ron's life. And all the friends here at Fort Walton Beach for years and years. He was sports editor here at the North Florida Daily News, and I can tell you, when you're the local sports editor, your phone rings a lot, and he met a lot of people. When he left here for Golf Week in the early 80s, Golf Week was just a Florida-only startup magazine. It was a newspaper-looking thing, and the staff was minuscule. But eventually the publication would go national, and Ron kind of made his own niche and kind of created his own beat, which is really cool. He still liked to go, and he'd cover the pro events and all the big ones, but he loved the college and amateur game. And he became the world's #1 expert on the college scene. Nobody did it like Ron. You know, he did his own player and team rankings. He'd scribble them out on these legal pads and longhand. And before the introduction of the internet, you know, Ron would be at a tournament for a week and get his scoops, and the only place to view his stories was waiting for that Golf Week to arrive at the end of the week. Oklahoma State's Mike Holder, who was a legendary college coach, said Ron worked hard to tell the world about the great things happening in college golf. And that's pretty neat. He made a difference, and that's exactly what he set out to do. His work carried meaning to the people he wrote about, and the payoff for him was in all the friendships he made. I'm sure there's a lot in this room that could attest to that. I was fortunate to be with Ron in 2010 in Las Vegas on the night that he became the first non-coach ever inducted into the National College Coaches Hall of Fame. So think about that. A guy who never coached a single day in his life was inducted into the Coaches Hall of Fame. I mean, it tells you what they thought about Ron and how much Ron did for 3 decades for college golf. And I remember how proud he was that night. And this honor today, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame in his hometown, you know, a place very special to him that he considered a hometown, he would absolutely love that. You know, though he lived in Houston and Winter Haven and Mount Ida, Arkansas, and this was always home. And it was 32 years ago where he received the Colonel Al Byrne Award here, which meant a lot to him. So I know how proud Debbie is today, and how proud his stepsons must be today to see Ron get this honor. And somewhere up there, Ron's pretty proud himself. I know he loves a party, and he's not missing this one. Ron made a difference. He really did. He made a difference. And heartfelt thanks to all of you for remembering for that. Thank you.
It's almost impossible to say how much this means to me and how much I know it would have meant to Ron. I can remember being at all sports banquets when Dick Buckwist came and Joe Ferguson, and this organization, it meant a lot to Ron, and he was involved in the community. And as much as we moved around, he never forgot to be involved in his community. When we moved to Central Florida, he became involved with Big Brothers. He was always involved in our church and always involved in any sports group that was in the area. He loved the All Sports Association, and I thank you so much for honoring him with this award. And I look at my fellow widows, and I think how we remember those who have gone before us, who are important. And I just wanted to end this with a little poem that I think we'll all relate to today, and it's called "We Are the Rememberers." We are the rememberers, the people left behind, to keep the one who's gone from us alive in heart and mind, the people left to cherish and preserve a legacy. Yes, we are the rememberers, and we always will be. Thank you.
Got a round of applause while you're up for our 2016 Hall of Fame class, Marci Clemons Spivey and Ron Balicki. Finally, when we started this luncheon 14 years ago, we tried to model part of it after the NFL Hall of Fame lunch, where they would lock the doors and Ray Nitschke would give his riveting speech. We tried Rube holding the doors for a while, and that didn't work. And we couldn't find Ray Nitschke, so we got the complete polar opposite of Ray Nitschke and Reverend James Ross. And so we're going to ask Reverend Ross to close us out with some words of wisdom.
Out of my way, son. Great friends, this will be very brief and succinct, but I want to show you something that I brought, and let me get it. This is a rose, and one of my deep beliefs is this, that a rose to the living is worth more than a wreath to the dead. And it is my belief that those wonderful people that have gone before us, I hope and pray they know how much we love them, affirm them. But to all sports, I want to briefly address what I think of this great organization. I will tell two stories and see if you can find yourself in those stories. And I'll tell one joke, and you better not find yourself in that one. A man went to interview Ty Cobb. Do you remember the greatest baseball hitter? Average 367 was his lifetime average. Now this was a young reporter, and he's in awe of Ty Cobb, and he goes and he says, "Mr. Cobb, you had the highest lifetime average of anybody who ever played baseball." He said, "Sir, I want to ask you, if you were playing in the majors today, after hitting 367 as a lifetime average, what do you think you would hit if you were playing today?" Cobb thought for a minute, and he said, "About 300. The young reporter said, 300, sir, but you averaged 367. Cobb said, "Son, heck, I'm 75 years old." Now, it is true, many of us here are no longer capable physically of doing what we once did, but I think you may see yourself in that story. And then this one, real quickly, surely you will not see yourself in this one. This older couple, like unto myself and my wife, married 52 years. They were walking along the beach one day, and as you know, the usual scenario, they hit a glass bottle. And they stopped and looked down, and they saw this little genie figure in it. And the man reached down, he picked it up, and he opened it up, and the genie popped out. And the genie said, "Thank you so much." Said, "I've been in that jar for 500 years. Out of my gratitude, my deep gratitude, I'm going to grant you and your wife, one wish each." What would it be? And the wife immediately spoke up and said, "Well, all my life I've lived in a very small house. I would love to live in a mansion." The genie said, "No problem. Here's this gorgeous mansion." Turns to the man and said, "Sir, what would you like?" He said, Genie said, "Could I speak to you privately?" Hang with me, guys. So the genie said, "Well, I guess so." So they got over apart from his wife. He said, "Look," he said, "it's my one chance. That I never expected this." Said, "My wife and I are both 70 years old." He said, "If I've just got one wish." The guy said, "That's right." He said, "All right." He said, "This is my wish." He said, "I want to be married to a woman 30 years younger than I am." And the genie said, "Have you thought through that?" And he said, I have, and that's what I want." The genie said, "Okay, you're 100 years old." Now the closing story. You remember Hurricane Andrew, what it did, devastated that area. 117,000 homes were devastated when that hurricane came through. But in the midst of that devastation, there was something remarkable. 27 Habitat for Humanity homes remained standing in the midst of all that wreckage, timber, bathroom fixtures, and so forth. Millard Fuller, who was the beginner president of Habitat for Humanity, flew in to survey what had happened. And those 27 homes were standing. Now this reporter said to him, "Mr. Fuller, how do you account for this? These other things have been blown away, and these 27 homes are standing." And Millard Fuller said, "I can." He said, "First of all, we're a Christian organization. We built our house on the rock." Now, to the reporter, you would have thought he was speaking in tongues. He just, "What?" But he was making a biblical reference. And then he said, "Also, we put love in the joints." And then he said, "Our homes are built by amateurs." He said, "A professional carpenter drives a nail every 17 inches. He said, our amateurs drive them inch by inch by inch. And I want to say in closing, and I hope you'll see yourself in this, I believe that this is what this great organization does. I believe what we do is drive beautiful memories for young people like Marci, like Ron, like all these other people. We have given them something that will stabilize their lives for the rest of their days. I thank God to be part of a great group of people. Let us pray. Father, we thank you, O God, for the great privilege of being part of something larger and longer and better even than ourselves. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Charles.
Ready for a great week, but before we do, I'm going to ask Bill Roberts to lead us outside, Marci and Debbie, for the unveiling. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, and we're going to have a great week.